Hi. Official recaps here. Today, I am going to explain a Hong Kong Chinese film called Cook Up a Storm. Before getting to the video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like to support the channel. The Seven, a well-known neighborhood eatery on Spring Avenue, Hong Kong, serves as the movie's focal point. Skyko, the restaurant's outstanding chef, specialized in Southern-style cooking. He is accompanied by his friend Uni. She typically oversees the restaurant's financial operations. On that particular day, an unpleasant customer enters by cutting through the line. Even though the client brags about his wealth and influence, Sky declines to serve him. Before he leaves, the man makes fun of their tiny eatery and reveals that his boss has invited a top-tier chef to open a 3-star restaurant across the street from theirs. Uni finds the idea frightening, but she brushes it off as a bluff. The crowned king and queen of France are welcoming their infant son at this time. To commemorate the birth, they host a sizable ball and ask a celebrity chef to prepare food for the attendees. We get to meet the aforementioned chef, Paul An. He is a French-trained Korean chef with a Michelin star. Paul has a unique approach to cooking that disregards limitations of any one particular style. The chef serves the queen a dessert that resembles a crimson egg but is actually packed with mango puree and coconuts as his special. The dish takes its name from the custom of giving red eggs to a newborn as a blessing. The royals are moved by the delectable dish and the message behind it, and they admire Paul's accomplished effort. He goes back to his restaurant job with his assistant Mayo after the successful ball. Cheering them on, the owner and their co-workers congratulate them on their accomplishments. Additionally, the franchise's executive chef, Paul, has been elevated, according to the owner of Art Nouveau. It's a big step for him, so everyone is shocked when he declines the offer. Paul desires to go back to Asia in order to pursue a greater and more ambitious goal. A Chinese investor looking to open a 3-star restaurant has invited him and Mayo. The crew congratulates them on their choice and bids them goodbye. One of Sky's regular customers back on Spring Avenue lets him know that the report about a new eatery being opened is accurate. Sky is disappointed by the news since he wants his small colony to grow but worries that a new eatery will drive away customers and increase competition. When Sky was 10 years old, his father would beat him and make fun of him for not being a good cook. He gave up on Sky one day, choosing to focus on his work as a chef instead of being a parent, with the justification that Sky couldn't even prepare a respectable bowl of noodles. Uncle Seven, the master and proprietor of the 7 eateries, has looked after him ever since. In contrast to his father, he also taught Sky everything he needed to know about eating. Sky hasn't seen his father in more than 20 years, and he doesn't currently have any plans to make amends. Paul travels to Hong Kong the following morning and visits the market to look for a large grouper fish. The vendor only has one of these and chooses to sell it to Sky because he knows that he will prepare it more expertly. Paul thinks that a store owner shouldn't have bias. Before the vendor chops the fish in half for them both, they have a brief quarrel. A few weeks later, the Stellar, a 3-star restaurant located just in front of 7, holds its grand opening ceremony. Paul and Mayo greet the first patrons of the restaurant, the chairman and manager of the Lee Management Group. The staff of the 7 restaurant begin promoting various discounts that will be available throughout the course of the following week at the same time. A fight breaks out when the security officers from the Stellar restaurant attempt to stop them. Paul and the visitors notice this and come outside to see what all the hoopla is about. Mayo recommends that they hold a tournament to determine which cook is the best as the discussion becomes heated. Sky and Paul accept the challenge after recognizing one another at the market. They choose to participate in a fish cutting contest. Paul initiates and quickly and deftly removes all of a fish's ribs. Then, in less than a minute, Sky takes the identical fish and chops it into even pieces. Even Paul is impressed as the audience applauds him. The Lee Group's chairman must make the announcement of the outcomes. He asserts objectively that only the International Chef Challenge competition, in which both chefs competed, will reveal the actual results. Additionally, he declares that he intends to take over the entire Spring Avenue colony, demolish all the structures, and modernize it. The chairman is willing to abandon his plan to protect the colony's history if Sky prevails in the competition. But if Paul prevails, he will carry out his plan. Sky is under pressure because the colony's destiny is in his hands, but he is still committed to doing his best. The 7 restaurants' clientele declines during the following few days. Uni is concerned that they might go out of business soon, but Sky reassures her it's not going to happen. He uses the example of escargots and field snails to illustrate his point that different people would always prefer one over the other. Since there will always be consumers who prefer one restaurant over another, they do not need to alter their menu in order to surpass the stellar restaurant. Sky is disappointed when he visits the market the following day and discovers that the stellar restaurant has already purchased all of the nice fish. The 7 restaurant staff is having a difficult day until they learn that Sky has been chosen for the cooking competition. He will shortly compete with Paul for a spot in the semifinals. However, it is also revealed that Mountain Co., the competition's 2-time champion, will face the winner. Sky is astonished to learn that his father has succeeded as he had hoped. He is now even more committed to competing against him in the finals. When Uncle Seven gets home that evening from his trip, he invites Sky to a bar. Sky rushes to the site, eager to see him after all this time, but instead finds his father there with Uncle Seven. Mountain is frank in admitting that he still has no faith in Sky and has no regrets about separating from him to pursue his job. Although Sky finds the remarks to be the most painful thing he has ever heard, he masks his hurt with anger. He promises to triumph in the tournament and disprove Mountain's assertion that being a horrible guy is necessary to being a good cook. The contenders have 90 minutes to prepare a dish of their choice and deliver it on the day of the culinary duel. Paul prepares a foie gras sorbet as Sky prepares a traditional salt-baked duck. As both chefs demonstrate exceptional skill while preparing their unique meals, the entire 90 minutes are intense. The audience gasps as Sky quickly and cleanly chops through the duck's belly and removes it. Finally, he bakes the duck in salt and removes the outer layer to reveal a perfectly cooked duck filled with vegetables. The judges try it and are more enamored with Sky's duck than Paul's sorbet. Paul scores 3 9s and a magnificent 10 out of 10, earning a total of 37 points when it comes time to vote. The next instant, the first 2 judges give Sky 2 10s. The third judge awards him a 9, but the last judge only awards him an 8. Due to a tie in points between the 2 chefs, the chief judge decides to award Paul the victory due of the superior dish presentation to Sky's uninspired plating. Despite the fact that Paul's success ought to have confirmed his culinary skills, things do not turn out as planned. As they are enjoying their victory, the manager tells Paul that Mayo will be taking his position in the finals. He claims that a woman is much more alluring in the media than a male. Mayo reveals that Paul has trouble smelling some sensations, such as saltiness, when Paul tries to justify his job as head chef. He has been utilizing a notebook with all of his recipes in it for the past few months because he is unable to cook on his own. Mayo also admits that her primary motivation for supporting Paul was to outcompete him as a chef rather than to become his buddy. Paul storms out of the restaurant feeling betrayed and hurt, vowing never to return. That evening, Sky runs into a buzzed Paul in front of a sporting venue. For a short while, they put their competition aside and talk about their pasts and problems. Paul adds that his father was a fantastic chef who died with the desire that Paul would follow in his footsteps. Sky also shares with him their relationship with Mountain. Following their discussion, they discover that they respect one another. They curse at Mountain in Korean and throw bottles of booze at his image on a billboard. Paul does not yet want to give up on the rivalry. He decides to compete as a solo chef after disproving the rulebook because he cannot represent the stellar restaurant. He even invites Sky to watch the semifinals with him. While Uncle Seven is being persuaded to give over his restaurant to the Lee Company, the manager of Stellar appears at the Seven restaurant. Paul and Sky then show up and declare their alliance. Paul also reminds the management that he is qualified to compete at the championship because he won the contest. Sky and Paul collaborate on work and training for the upcoming few weeks. They experiment with each other's cooking techniques until they find a way to modernize classic dishes. The Studio City Casino in Macau is the site of the culinary competition's semifinal round. The winner of the round will go up against Mountain Co., who is currently the god of cookery. Sky and Paul use their combined culinary skills to compete against 4 other talented chefs from across the world as the competition gets underway. The Lee Group has also managed to get Mayo to compete. She takes additional care when cooking to show that she is superior than Paul. The judges first laud the oyster dish she prepares with frozen foam, but after it is presented, they appear to think it is only passable. In the meantime, Sky and Paul make a deconstructed mapo tofu. The judges give the meal detailed compliments and express their admiration for it. They succeed in the end and advance to the grand finale. Paul glances at Mayo as everyone applauds. She is guilty that she misled him and was unable to prove herself. She is standing with her head bowed. Only one of the chefs will face Mountain in the final round. Paul believes he is ineligible to take part because of his poor taste. Additionally, he is aware of how very personal it is for Sky to defeat Mountain, which is why he advises Sky meet Mountain in the championship. Sky and his father are face to face the next day. They have an hour to prepare anything they want to eat for the competition. Before the competition begins, the father and son keep their words to themselves. Mountain starts cooking right away, but Sky is preoccupied with his thoughts. He recalls how Mountain left him and how much the residents in the area mean to him. Sky struggles to concentrate since his mind is racing. Mountain throws water in his son's face in an effort to jolt him back to reality. Sky is brought back by the event, and he starts producing dough right away. Mountain creates a beautiful sugar display of molten lava with a flower on top towards the end of the hour. Sky's meal, in comparison, is a little more straightforward but unique. He prepares noodles in the same manner as Mountain did years ago when he abandoned his son. The cuisine served by Mountain impresses the judges who try it, but Sky never gives them his plate. Instead, he hands Mountain the bowl of noodles. As Mountain consumes it, he is moved as he considers what the noodles stand for. Finally, he is forced to recognize his son's talent in the culinary arts. Because the judges were not allowed to sample the cuisine, it is unknown who won the competition. The crowd outside the 7 restaurant has assembled to celebrate the Chinese New Year in the scene that follows. Together as a family, they eat a supper that Sky and Paul prepared. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.